wanted you to walk us through the gear that you brought today.
Yeah, for sure. Super simple, actually. I mean, the machine, I'm using a Machine Plus. It's like the standalone version of the Machine MK3. So it allows me to just pull up without a computer and do what I do. And then I've got it running into an SP404 Mark II, which is the newer version of like the classic 404. And yeah, it's a pretty simple setup, although it's got a lot of buttons and stuff. It's like, you know, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Not much extra gear along with it, so.
Is this the same setup that you use when you're live on Twitch?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, exactly. I mean, the only difference is like, I have like, I pull the gear out and I put it in this like, I got this really nice desk made for my gear.
Performance art.
You know, and I just want it to be like clean. I got OCD. My cables are all like hidden, you know.
Yeah.
I don't mess around.
I've seen a couple. It looks just like sharp. You know what I mean? Like,
thanks, man.
Like a TV set or something.
I try to make it like that. It wasn't like that at the start.
That's what's up. For anybody who maybe wants to get their start in live beat making,
yeah.
Do you have any suggestions in regard to like gear that would be like a good entryway for them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're looking to do any kind of like actual live performance beat making, any pad-based controller is like the way to do it. Like 16 pads, or even if you've got 8 pads on top of one of those little keyboards, you can get them for pretty cheap. But I always say, like, if you're just looking to try and get into production more and not necessarily want like the tactile like playing, I mean, like, it's pretty wild how you can get an app for $5 now on an iPhone or an iPad. This is like true. Koala or BandLab. BandLab in particular is like, it's a full-blown audio workstation. Yeah. And you can sample on it and do whatever. It's
BandLab. I saw a Instagram post that you made where you were.
Yeah, I use the app for that.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're amazing, man. They reached out to me, and I really love any company that's like trying to make music and production more accessible. Yeah. And the fact that their app is free is something that I'm always like, man, that's a really, really dope thing. Because,
that's super dope.
You know, more often than not, people have an iPhone or a phone that can download an app. Versus like thinking like, oh damn, I need to spend $3,000 on a laptop, and then another $1,000 on Ableton or whatever it might be.
Which is, it's funny because I feel like that's still such a common thought for people when it comes to
absolutely
getting into music. They're like, oh, this is like the entry level is still, you know.
No, but you can do a lot. I know there's a lot of producers who are killing it on BandLab and on Koala, very similar apps in that way. And I mean, some of the beats people are making on them are like impressive. Like you wouldn't be able to tell if it was made on something like this or on an iPhone.
Well, the one that you posted where you were just like had your son, like banging on stuff.
I know, man.
And then
it was so easy though. You know what I mean? I literally just hold the button and it records the sample. I'm like, kick something, kick this person's boat.
That's super sick. What was the process like for you in terms of just your career pre-pandemic, and then how you kind of transitioned during the pandemic and post-pandemic?
It was like a big, almost like an epiphany in a way. I was like, with shows stopping, it was a realization for me that I literally was making money from one source. Okay. Because when shows stopped, I was like, oh damn, I'm not making money now, you know? So I actually thankfully living in Windsor, rent is a lot more affordable than a place like Toronto. You know, and it's not like I would have been able to go out anyway, you know? So for me, all like the CERB fund that we were getting, that self-employment fund, I used a lot of it to just invest in a live stream setup, cover my bills and put money into this setup so I can kind of like readjust what I was doing and how I was doing it. So at first it was kind of like a weird transitional thing where like, you're like, but it's not the same as, and it never will be, but it's not the same as playing in a room with people. But you can definitely still read a crowd through a screen, although it's weird. It's just a little bit of a shift of perspective.
I will say, like, thinking about people doing things live, like live streams before the pandemic, and how quickly it evolved when the pandemic happened was insane, because I remember, like, people would laugh at you if you were like, yo, come
No,
watch
totally.
my live stream before. And now it's like in a space where people like love it, some even more than actually going out.
100%.
You can be in the comfort of your home and actually interact and have that, like, I guess, like, maybe it's just like it takes away some of the social awkwardness. Or the fact that you feel like you're going to some places and maybe you don't fit in.
Totally, man. Totally.
Yeah, so it's super sick. And then also, obviously, like Twitch, with all of, like, the features, being able to, like, tip
Totally
the artists and stuff like that is top.
Wow, that's way better, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. The ground issue is gone, and it's wow.
Night and day.
But yeah, man. I mean, that shift was weird, but honestly, it happened pretty naturally. And you know, I've been filming videos for a long time on Instagram and YouTube like that. So it wasn't like a crazy transition to learn how to like talk to the screen, although you're like looking at yourself. So it's a very weird, you know. It's not like when I'm playing a show, I'm like really thinking about how I look or anything. As far as like, I don't see a mirror, you know.
All you care about is like the faces and the
Wow. But yeah, it was really. I'm grateful for it. It was a blessing and a curse, the pandemic, man, because it really like allowed me to diversify what I was doing, you know. Whereas like I was just playing bars every Friday, Saturday. Some good shows, some not so good shows. Yeah. Whereas now I'm able to dictate my schedule a lot more and what I'm doing on those days. And kind of like, you know, if I'm going to be filming a video or like working on a beat, I'm like, well, I can live stream my process. I love sharing how I do what I do. So it allows me to just kind of, you know, it's like the more you teach what you do, the better you understand it, you know?
That was actually one of the other questions that I had was the difference between playing like a gig and doing like a live stream, and I guess like the mental health aspects, the physical health aspects, and kind of like how they differentiate. And then also like you have a family. How much time it allows you to actually have with your family more so than, you know.
If you're just playing shows. I mean, it definitely is a balance. And obviously so many people were working remotely during the pandemic. So, you know, my partner was working from our dining room and I moved my studio to the living room with just a curtain separating us when I was working or when she was working. But, you know, you kind of just, if there's one thing I really learned about having a kid, especially during the pandemic, was just being accepting whatever the situation might be. So it's like, if my son is pulling me away to do something, I'm going to go away to do something, and it's fine to just like disconnect myself from what I'm working on. So I think that was like a huge learning lesson for me, and I feel like because I'm working from home, I'm spending so much time with both of them, you know, and we still do that. And I think, you know, with streaming, because you can kind of diversify what you're doing, it doesn't always have to be performance, right? So I stream 4 days a week. They're usually maybe like a couple hours long a stream, and you know, on Sundays I'll take like community suggestions for samples and flip just to kind of involve the people who are watching too. And then on Tuesdays I always make a sample during the day for producers to flip for our Wednesday sample flip challenge, you know, and then Fridays I perform. So it allows me to like really stay, I don't know, like like I said, I got OCD, and having some kind of regimented schedule allows me to just still continue to be creative, make a lot of music. It's allowed me to collaborate with so many producers that I never thought I would even meet, really, you know, and it's pretty surprising how many other people are, I mean, it's so stupid to say, but like that are online, you know, you're like, no, but everybody is.
You're kind of like hitting the nail on the head, but that's another question that I had for you, is just like how surreal it is to have access to people all over the world.
It's wild. You know? It's wild. It really is, though. Like I said, it's changed the way I think about how I can continue as an artist full time. Because for the 10 years leading up to the pandemic, I've been a full-time musician. Just touring, playing shows, and that's all I was doing, you know?
That's what's up.
How
was it building that like online fan base or audience? Any setbacks or any, I guess, like things that you can say to help people who are trying to build an audience?
Sure, I mean, there were definitely setbacks for sure. I mean, it's a huge learning curve too, right? Because we focus so much on what we do and what we're good at, and now you're introducing a whole other element to your creative process, which is like a production in total. Like, I mean, you're literally running a live production. So you can do it very simply, and that's one thing I just allowed for my stream to improve over time instead of being like, I need all the best gear right now, you know? So I allowed it to just be like, any money I was making from the stream, I'd be like, okay, well, I can buy a slightly better camera, replace the iPhone and the interface or whatever it might be. But the building of a community online is pretty interesting because, you know, there is some existing communities within the platforms that you already exist on, right? But the trouble is actually getting people to leave one platform to go to another. And that's what I found the most challenging was like, well, I got to find people who are already online and sort of savvy with streaming. Because the amount of times I've said like, yeah, catch my stream on Twitch. People are like, I don't got a Twitch. And I'm like, it's free to just make an account and watch any stream. You know, you don't have to sub or anything. So
and then right now, I feel like everybody's going through like account fatigue where they're like, man, I have Spotify, Apple.
Yeah,
like,
I know. And that's what it is. So I think that like, for me, I found that I streamed on Reddit first before I streamed on Twitch. And there was during the pandemic, oddly, it just ended recently, but they had this like algorithm on Reddit that I could almost guarantee that I would get front page placement. So any stream I launched, within a few minutes, there could be 5,000, 6,000 people. It's not like that on my actual stream. It might be like 60 people, you know, but the reality is like if I can get out of those 5,000 people, you know, I'll play a 30, 40 minute set before I go on Twitch. If I can get maybe 25 or 30 people, I know it's not many, but that many new people to your Twitch, if half of them sub, and you just repeat that process every time. So the initial stages of streaming were a grind. You know, it was like I was streaming 5 days a week, 6 days a week, whenever I could, you know, and usually late nights, and it just is what it is. You kind of make those sacrifices the same way you would if you were on the road playing shows, you know. You're like, I'm not going to sleep very much because I got to drive 10 hours tomorrow.
Exactly.
You know, so you kind of make those sacrifices. But I feel like, you know, just taking it one step at a time is the best. I know it's not the craziest advice, but it's something that I'm just like, don't overwhelm yourself with it because burnout is real, you know, you can really get wrapped up in that world. And it's like people who exist on TikTok who post 10 TikToks a day. I'm like, that burnout happens so quick and it's real. Like it takes a toll on you mentally, physically. So I'm like, I learned how to just take these breaks to be like, you know, and that's one thing. I'm really transparent with my community and our Discord. If I'm not feeling right, I'm like, no stream tonight, you know, and everybody's like, great, okay, feel better.
That is a super dope thing with like the streaming world as well. Is like, imagine you had a show and you were like, listen, I'm not.
I know y'all
well.
paid for this today,
no
but
show tonight.
and that you can't do that. You just got to perform, and you know, and I've definitely done that many times. You know, it's like, especially in the last bands I was playing. I mean, it was like, you know, it was a lot. It was a lot, man. And you just kind of fight through that, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna do what I do, and you know. But yeah, it's nice to be able to actually have some control of that and be like, if I stream right now and I'm not feeling good, I'm not going to give you guys the best performance, or I might not like be in that mood to talk or something, you know? So I definitely, when I recognize it now, I'm like, I don't need to stream today. You know, if I don't feel good, I don't need to.
That's what's up.
You know?
Maybe we open it up to the audience, see if anybody has any questions for her.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If anybody does. Well, it's interesting. I was just having this conversation yesterday, actually, with like with another friend of mine who's like kind of asked a similar question, because Twitch is really tough. Like, if I could transition to YouTube right now, I would. But the platform on Twitch that they've built around the community aspect of streaming, they've got a hold on that. And the big issue with Twitch is that they take 50% of your subs. So if you're supposed to make $1,000 that month, you're making 500.
No.
You know? Yeah. And that's what's wild. It's like Amazon owns Twitch. I'm like, they don't need more money from like small streamers especially, right? So the thing that's kept me there is that community aspect is such a huge part of the stream culture. There's something called rating someone. So you can take, at the end of my stream, say I stream 2 hours and I still have 100 people on my stream. I can find someone else who's streaming. You can do it strategically where like you can find someone who's bigger and raid them, and they might give you a shout out, and now your name is kind of in their mind that way. And I've been rated by some really big streamers too, like random people, like the Needle Drop, Anthony Fantano, who does the music reviews, randomly will raid me, and it's like something that, like, again, could only happen on Twitch. So, because they can just go to the Discover page, see who's got a low number of streams, and the stream might look cool, and they're like, oh, let's raid this person. So I'll do the same if I got 100 people and I see a producer that's online that I really like. I'm like, well, we can just like infiltrate their stream with like 75 or 100 people that decide to show up, and it's like there's a positive and a negative to that, because like the positive side is I've been able to connect with some producers, like I said, that I never thought I would connect with, and collaborate with them that way, and now our communities are connected. So it's something that doesn't happen on YouTube or Instagram or anywhere really, because it's very like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, it's like about me. It's the me show. I'm like, how do I get the most for me? Where like Twitch, you're like, how can I also help out this other streamer right now, or this other crew? I'm like, well, I love their community and my community's dope. I'm like, we could all just connect, So that's a huge part of Twitch, that they kind of got a hold on that.
Yeah. It's funny how the greed of Amazon brings the community together. I
know, it's so stupid, man. It's like, I hope eventually it changes, but I highly doubt it. I feel like YouTube will eventually get there. They're slowly rolling out new features that you can live redirect now, which is a raid in essence, but it'll take time. And I recognize, like, I don't have a big enough following that I can confidently say all 70 to 100 people who watch my stream on average will come to YouTube. Yeah. Because now they've invested in so many other communities and streamers that it's like, it's a little bit like hard to take that away and bring them to another place. So I think eventually there will be a big shift. There were already some really big Twitch streamers that left the platform because 50-50 is crazy. Yeah, nobody should be taking that much money from you. And it's when I get the servers are probably expensive and all that back end stuff, but I'm like, we're doing the work. Exactly. Like
at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're the ones streaming and bringing people to the platform, especially considering if you're bringing people from another platform to Twitch. So I definitely, it's not a forever thing. They've shown me a lot of love and supported me too. Like Twitch, they'll throw me on the front page from time to time, and I'm a realist. I'm super jaded. So when I see like 5,000 people or 5,000 viewers, I'm like, it might be 400, realistically. But I still try to use that to my benefit, and I'm like, how can I get the most out of this connection with Twitch while I'm still there,
100%.
So
do they do anything like, how Bandcamp during the pandemic they started like Bandcamp Fridays where on this day we're not gonna take any money?
God, no. They might do like, on this day we're gonna take a little bit more of your money right now. It's like it's stupid. You have no choice but to run ads. Like, they run automatically. So if someone new wants to check your stream out and they don't sub, they're going to get a 30-second ad right away. And the conversion of that, like, people leave. Like, especially if you get rated by someone big, you'll see like 3,000 people rated, and all of a sudden it's like 900 viewers because 1,500 of them got, an ad that you can't shut off. So that's one thing that YouTube does, is like, you can shut them off entirely. Because the reality is, with such a low number of viewers, you're making pennies on the ads, Again, Amazon's like, you will make 0.0000 cents, Like, it's like Spotify too,
Crazy.
Everybody's trying to take your money, man. I'm always just like, just jump into it sooner than later, Like, because you're going to have to go through these hurdles of like, learning that you need really good internet, and like, we've had situations where I might be like on the front page of Reddit, all of a sudden it's like, in early days where I didn't really understand the algorithm, and I'd have like, it'd say like 10,000 people, and then like my stream would just drop out, and I'm like, I'd be so mad about it in that moment. And the reality was like, well, I didn't know what I was doing at all. So it was awesome that it happened at all, but I just say, like, jump into it, and again, like what I said earlier, it's like, don't overwhelm yourself with like having to feel like you need all the best gear. It's like, you can stream. I streamed off my iPhone for 5 months before I actually got a proper camera. Crazy. And it worked great. It looked great. Where it's, again, that much technology in such a little thing is like pretty insane that you can produce on it, you can film on it, you can stream on it. But it definitely takes, you know, make sure you got good internet, Ethernet, no Wi-Fi, man. Like there's no chance. It's too.
Really,
yeah. Well, man, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily putting in more effort, to be truthful, because some of these like women that are streaming on Twitch, one example, Amaranth, she's like, I think she probably averages like, 5,000 viewers, 5 to like 15,000 viewers on her stream, and probably makes $250,000 a month on it, realistically. And, but she streams like 60 hours a week at least. And yes, it's not necessarily something that's like her doing like a creative thing or like actually putting in work on being like a musician or whatever it is. But she's got every right to, so I can't really like necessarily hate on that. But do I get mad at Twitch? Yes, 100%. But like I mentioned earlier, they have shown me love, and some other streamers that I know that were doing cool things with their communities. So they said like, hey, why don't we pay you some incentivized hours to stream X amount, and we'll pay you just to keep doing what you're doing and bringing people to the platform. So it's not that they don't recognize it, but also it's not Twitch or the streamer themselves, it's the people, right? Amaranth doesn't pick the people who watch her stream. Those people will watch her stream wherever it is, whatever she's doing. So all the power to her. I think it's, she's working her ass off, big time. So I can't really hate on that. And when I see like how much burnout happens when you do stream often and you start to make some money from it, you're like, well, if I stream tonight, I could make some money, and that kind of starts to play a role in your mental health big time, So I definitely try to do my own thing, like I look at Twitch and streaming in general as like a way to showcase what I'm already going to be doing off stream. I'm going to be making beats. I started doing this like, if you guys are familiar with Mass Appeal, they do Rhythm Roulette. It's like they send a producer in a record shop, blindfold them, pick 3 records, take them back to the studio and make some music. I started doing my own Grass Appeal because they won't call me to do an episode, so I got to do it myself. But I started doing that, and I just kind of like was thinking about how do I recycle all my content without spending so much time having to film content. So I look at it like, okay, I'll film the vlog portion of me just going to the record shop by myself, and then I'll stream me making those beats. And then I got like a full YouTube video. I got videos from my TikTok and Instagram, and I had a stream, and that's all kind of like just barely a day, and I think I look at it a little bit different than streaming being the job and me being an artist is the actual job. It's just a way to facilitate, meeting new people and stuff. So, but damn, do I wish Twitch did more for me.
I do think, in terms of creatives in general, like we do, I guess, have to consider to an extent the people who we are attracting, kind of lean into them a lot more.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the support system is there. There are examples of like artists who are able to get that type of fan base. It seems like it's easier for some people, but I feel like
totally,
sometimes it's luck. There's a million things that
big time. So many factors, and that's why I always say like I do try to tell a lot of artists or producers to stream because it's a very easy way to always connect with someone new. Even if it's one person, I'm like, that whole old school mentality of one fan at a time, and you kind of like connect with them on a different level in real time. Although they're on the other side of the screen, you're answering a question they're asking right now. If you got sample packs, they might buy them right now instead of like seeing you at a show where they got to wait in line to buy your merch. Facts. In the big lineups that I get, Ninth Wonder, Jay Dilla, and a lot of jazz. I listen to a lot of music, man, and I think it kind of goes hand in hand with like, getting into sample-based beat making. I started off as a drummer, and I still play drums. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm playing drums in bands and singing backups and stuff, and kind of went through many different genres of music just by virtue of playing drums in these bands. And I think that when I got into sample-based beat making in particular, it opened my mind up to so many different genres of music that were constantly inspiring me in that way. And that's why I always say with like sampling, and it's something Ninth Wonder actually said, the beauty of sampling is that it's a starting point of inspiration at which you wouldn't have started at otherwise. And I think that's really beautiful because like you might hear something that someone else doesn't, and it's a huge reason why I do this weekly sample flip challenge where I make a song and the producers flip it, and say we get 25 submissions, there aren't two alike, but as like main inspirations and with what I do, I would say like Ninth Wonder and Jay Dilla are probably up there as the GOATs. Oh, I love it, and I think especially having a drum background, I definitely lean into more world music than I do just like the typical like, let me get, whatever it might be, if it's like a Jazzy Rhodes sample or something, but I definitely do that, yeah. Especially, man, like if you go to record shops, it's so easy to go to different sections and pick a few records out, and I think I might own maybe like between 600 and 700 records at home, and it's such a wide range of genres. A lot of Latin music, a lot of jazz, a lot of reggae, a lot of R&B, because growing up next to Detroit, I mean, like, if you want soul R&B records, just go to a record shop in Detroit and you will find everything, So it is pretty awesome to just kind of be in that realm where you can be inspired by so many different genres of music that way, for sure.
That's what's up.
Yeah, awesome.
Hey, thank you for starting us off.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, give it up one more time for Datsunn.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.